Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's stream. Probably going to be a chillax stream. I can already feel it. We're just going to be productive. We have to build the undergrowth. I just realized I need to put on all of the details onto all of these trees. Real quick. I literally don't need that much. Okay, we're going to go do that first. We're going to go put all of the details onto the trees, and then we will build a bunch of rocks, and then after the rocks, we will... Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what I'm going to do after the rock, what, like, the next plan of action should be after rocks, but that's just kind of the plan, so we're just going to build these. And we're going to have an absolutely lovely time putting in buttons and knots, all of that kind of jazz. It's going to be great. I don't know, I think that's an interesting idea right there. Nope. All right. All right, which one of these is aim lock, fake sneaking? All right, I don't have it yet. Fake sneak placing, we can make 5. Oh, wait, nope, 5 already has the thing. We can make 6. There we go. Perfect. Oops, I turned. All right. Why? Okay. Cool. Trust me, the fake sneak placement is going to be very, very handy. Very handy indeed. We only want it when we want it. Gentlemen, today I had the most interesting lunch probably ever. Okay? I had a peanut butter and jelly grilled cheese sandwich. I know what you're saying. That sounds disgusting. And you're wrong. It was actually very, very good. I would eat it again. It just, the way I rated it was good. Okay? It was good, but for the effort required to make it was not good enough to want to do that again. Okay? That's kind of where I left it off. Right? I wouldn't really want to do that again because it takes quite a lot of effort to make it. Right? It's more effort than I would like to put into lunch. I'll put it on. I can't wait until we have the mushrooms, the shelf mushrooms. I'll have to go through and put those all on this. We're just gonna be kind of insane if you think about it. All right, The annoying thing with the fake sneak placement is it has its defaults, which is fine, but it does mean it's a lot of turning it on and turning it off again. We need it only in the one use case, not in every case. So we don't need it to, like, go crazy on us. Like right here, we need it to place that one singular, that's the one use case. Otherwise, we don't really need it. That's fine. We're just gonna do a oneer right there. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. We gotta add variety. It's hard to make these kinds of things have variety. You know, they're just not naturally the most varietable thing. No, that's not the right way. That's the right way. All right, so gentlemen, now that we're done with the Elden Ring challenge, right? Now that we've completed that, it's kind of crazy. Because now I have to ask myself the question of, all right, well, what's next? I got a few challenge ideas in mind. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but if I have, you get to hear it again. One idea is, I'm going to do a low-bearing branch. All right, well, it would be very, very helpful if I didn't do it like that. One of the challenges that I would like to do is using every weapon in the game. I wanna beat the game with every weapon. Something about that really tickles my brain, okay? But I want to more accurately figure out what would be the best weapon for me as a player to use. Because I'm not the greatest player, the Elden Ring player, so what is the best weapon for me that could help me improve my Elden Ring gameplay? And so the hard part is figuring out the exact rules to make sure that that works. We could, of course, do it so that way I have to beat the game a whole bunch of times. Now that's a lot of times that I gotta beat the game, and I don't know if I really want to do that and beat the game several times to figure out, okay, vibe check which one went better. And then we could, of course, more systematically figure out exactly how good a weapon performed. Welcome in, Tactical Gaming Fox. What an epic name, by the way. Appreciate that. So I think that could be kind of cool. But I think the challenge, the way I would do it, is each arena, boss arena, has a scaling value assigned to it, which means I would select a specific, or not select, but I would, oh, my brain is having a hard time focusing. I would take whatever the scaling value is. For whatever, I don't know if this is the actual scaling value, but for Margit, I want to say it's like 8. Right? So you take that scaling value of 8, and I have 8 tries to kill the guy. If I do it in 8 tries, wonderful. We move on. If I die within those 8 tries, that's where the run ends. That's where the weapon ends. The problem is that means I would never get to try a specific type of weapon on different kinds of bosses, which is a bit of a problem. Ever heard of Jack King Hoff? I have not. We'll go oneer. Oneer's fine. I'm down for that. Get some mushrooms down at the bottom of this guy. A little knot over there. So I think that could be kind of a cool way to do a challenge run. But at the same time, I don't know how effective that would be, and I don't know how interesting that would be. And as mentioned, like, the biggest issue is now I don't actually get to try my hand at other bosses because I'm probably going to die, especially with really bad weapons, really early on, which I don't think is going to be particularly interesting. What mods am I playing? I currently have Tweakaroo. Tweakaroo and Mini Hut are like the main ones that I'm using. So the thing that's allowing me to fake sneak that you keep seeing pop up on the screen, that is Tweakaroo. Very, very handy mod. Highly recommend. It's very, very good. Get a little knot right over there. Put a mushroom right down there. And then go ahead and get a branch up top. I'm going to need way more trapdoors. Like, so many more trapdoors. It's actually kind of crazy how many trapdoors I need. Alright, that's forever up there. We're not getting that back. We are not getting that back. Alright, I'm gonna take a pit stop from this. Little brain break. AKA, I just need to get more trapdoors. As I only have 9 left. I might be fine on buttons. To be perfectly honest with you, there's not that many trees. The majority of our trees, the 105 trees that are in there, a lot of them are probably just fences. Like a good 50 of the trees that are in there are actually just fences. Spoiler alert. But that's okay, because the forest looks very, very full. Alright, well, I'm very low on spruce, so I'm going to need more spruce eventually. Oh, Lord, I forgot how expensive trapdoors were. I usually play with data packs installed that make it much, much cheaper. And I have been trying to get those data packs installed on this server, but they don't want to install them because it feels too cheaty for them. And I'm like, I just want more building supplies so I don't use all of the spruce wood that I had left on trapdoors. Because at most, a tree is going to be getting 4 trapdoors. That's a lot. That's a lot of trapdoors, alright? That's a lot. Oh, hello. That's a lot of trapdoors. And that's very expensive. That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. No, truthfully, it's fine. I'll just deal with it. No biggies. We'll just have to be a little bit more conservative with how many trapdoors we use. You know, we gotta do a lot of oneers. So for this one, this does not feel like a tree that deserves a oneer. It's a pretty tall tree. I forgot I tried that. The wall really wasn't it. The wall was not it. That's fine. Oneer doesn't really make sense here. I think this is a pretty big tree. It's good having a microphone right in front of your face. The problem is I can't see my keyboard. So I can't tell where things are. So I have to keep looking to make sure I'm going to press the right key. Which, granted, I should just know where the keys are at this point. Like, I'm a gamer after all, right? I should know where the keys are, but, you know, not that crazy. Okay. I'm glad I finally found a Minecraft YouTuber that is not clickbait. I'm glad you feel that way. It's very good. Yeah, I don't really do the clickbaitiness. Today's just a very, very chill Minecraft. Chill Minecraft game. I'm not. Look I'm the kind of guy that's like mood based, right? You know, I got one of those kind of vibes going on. So like, sometimes I'm more like Tuesday. Tuesday was a good talking day. Today is like a lock-in productivity day. We just gotta grind out decorations, and unfortunately, decorating requires a large amount of thought. Which isn't like that's make it sound like that's a bad thing. It's a good thing. But I cannot multitask and do talking and thinking at the same time. This is easier tasks. These are not hard tasks to do. I definitely feel like there should be one up there. I definitely think there should be one up there. Well, what did you get up to today, Tactical? I was telling the peeps earlier what I had for lunch. All right. Thank you for the follow, Commander King. I had a peanut butter and jelly grilled cheese for lunch today. Okay, because I wanted to try it. Actually bussin'. Oh, man. All right, well, looks like the Texas... Oh, no, it is working. I thought I heard something. Okay, that's good. I've been having issues with, like, alerts and the channel point redemption, so I'm not 100% sure if the sound... Because I can hear all of the sound, so I don't know if the sound is coming through the other side. But yeah. Screen is black? Okay. Somebody else was having that same issue the other day, or literally on Tuesday, the screen is black. On my end, it's not. And I pulled it up on my phone, and it wasn't black on my Twitch side, which is very weird that it's showing up as black. Because I'm not sure. But right now, maybe later. Like right now, it's not black on Twitch. So you might just have to watch on YouTube, because I'm dual streaming to YouTube and to Twitch. So it might just be Twitch being glitchy. Because I've had this problem happen to me as well. Where I was watching a stream, and like for whatever reason, yeah, YouTube it's chilling. So for whatever reason, it was just the screen, no matter what live streamer I was watching, the screen was just always black. And it was really weird. And like I just had to reload the screen like a ton of times until eventually it came back on. It was rough. It was rough. But we got there in the end. Eventually it goes away. I'm going to say I'm blaming Twitch because, as I said, YouTube is having no problem right now, so I don't think it's me going out. Those are a channel point redemption, Commander King. So you can redeem channel points to change my accent for 10 minutes. I haven't had that happen in a while, though. Though, to be perfectly honest, you stick around long enough, it'll probably happen naturally. I swap accents quite a lot because it's fun. You did redeem it. Did you? You did redeem it. You want to do you want to do British. Alright, mate. Well, that's not British, but... that's fine. We can go ahead and swap over to British. That's perfectly fine. I just got to remember to do this for like 10 minutes. Just let me know when I reach the limit, because that would probably be good. What wouldn't you say, though? Alright, I see it now. That's my bad. I was doing a bit of a problem there. Hello, welcome in, Ali Lee. Ali Lee 674. How you doing today? We just had changed my accent redeem, so now we're kind of, should have seen a boy. As mentioned, you may want to move over to YouTube, because Twitch seems to be having problems right now, and that is a problem, isn't it? My British accent is not doing as well as it usually is. Trust me, it normally is better than this. It's kind of like, is it South British? Almost like that. It's like on the brink of being, friggin' Australian. That's obviously not the same thing, but I'm managing to reel it back in to actual lore-accurate British. I just got to think about, beans on toast. That's something I should try. I should try beans on toast. I've never had it before, but obviously it's a very, very, British commodity. So it probably makes sense to try beans on toast. Never had it before. I do like beans, though. I do like beans. My favourite game, I'm playing it right now. It's Minecraft. Absolutely love Minecraft. This is most played game by far. Very good game. Highly recommend if you haven't. I'm out of jungle buttons. That's not good. Those are my mushrooms. Actually, I'm going to just put a knot right there. Alright, well, I've got to make more buttons, because I'm out of buttons. Which is, unfortunate. And thank you for the compliments, Ali Lee. You may, Commander, if you're still here, you may have to, treat this as like a podcast. You know, nice little podcast, putting the earbuds. By the way, I have a great idea for your stream related. Well, if it's graphic design art, no. We're not doing that. No, I saw it coming. I always see it coming. You made me lose the British, and now I'm Indian because you started talking about graphic design. Okay, look at what you've done. The viewers, they're now dissatisfied. I went from Britain to a country Britain invaded. Okay, and now we're Indian. This is not good. We're gonna stay Indian for a while because you're talking about graphic design art. I already have a graphic design artist. I've already got somebody in the bags. He's a good friend of mine. He does very good work. He's the one who already did the work. You know? You love Minecraft too? You have a 3-year-old world still working on? Yeah, I did. Sorry, I forgot to respond to that, but you did mention that you're working on Minecraft. What were you building? I don't care. Alili, I don't care. You're not going to I'm not going to do that. Gentlemen, I may need to take a pit stop and buy some more daggum. Did I already shoot? I already turned it in. Okay. I need to go grab some more spruce wood because I am almost out. I got plenty of diamonds. Let's head to the shopping district and see how much spruce wood is still left from the last time I absolutely bought all of the spruce wood. I don't think any of these shops are getting restocked, so it's basically a limited supply here. That's fine. That's fine. I did get out of the British. Blame Ali. She got me out of the British. Should maybe turn Indian. Look at the accents. The accents come naturally, and they come in certain emotions. I'm not going to send you a request. Okay, there's a little bit of spruce left. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, perfect. And that is literally all of the spruce purchased. There is no more spruce. I'm gonna have to farm it myself in the future, which is most unfortunate. So, building the city I was born in, and about to start building a model of the Titanic. Ooh, nice. What city were you born in? So, what city are you building? It's very cool. Boats are hard. I struggle with boats. I'm not gonna lie. Hats off to you for building a boat. Boats are hard. I really should get better at boats because I really want to build a I wanted to say carrier ship, a cargo ship out in front of the ocean, in front of the places I got over there, so that way I could have that. Because I think that would be pretty cool. I won't be real with you. I'm probably gonna turn most of this into friggin' trapdoors. All right. That's friggin' pressure plates. I didn't mean to do that. Oh man. All right. Well, I got 2 pressure plates now. Mobile Al. Oh, mobile Alabama. That makes more sense. Look at, I'm not really from around here, all right? I didn't grow up in these parts. AL is Alabama, right? I'm assuming that's what you're saying. Unless it's Albania, which would also be cool. But if the city name is Mobile, Alabama makes sense. Or anywhere in America would name a town Mobile. Let's be honest here. Sometimes Americans don't come up with the most creative names. And that's okay. You know, naming things is hard. I'll tell you what. Create a fantasy language and then start naming things. Oh, boy. Yeah, it starts out easy, and then next thing you know, you got a whole language on your hands you got to deal with. Yeah, what trees do I still need to... I want to put fungus right there. All right. We're, like, over here somewhere. Yeah, it's Alabama. Mobile. Oh, Mobile. Mobile. That sounds a lot more like a town. Mobile, Alabama. That's really cool. Is it like a small town? Small town vibes? Gotta love a good small town. I was in a small town, Pennsylvania, for a little while before I came down to Virginia. Now I'm in a slightly larger Mobile. Oh, Mobile. Mobile. That makes more sense. Like, what does Mobile go with? There's a word that I'm thinking of, but my brain is not braining, so I'm not thinking of it. You know what? We're gonna leave it like that. All right, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. How far along are you into the Titanic? I think a 1 is good right there. But I do want to put another 1 right there. I think that'll be good. All right, let's get up there. Okay. Oh, I'm on the lower. That's why. I need to back up 1 so I can place this. It's funny because y'all probably just see me doing this every time. Every time I need to undo arrogant fake sneaking. One of these days, I'll just trust myself to press the right button, and we'll be good. This is definitely getting a 1er, like, way up here. Holy, I was way off. I ain't gonna lie with you. I've never been to Alabama before. So I am very unknowledgeable when it comes to the Alabams. Mobile is the largest city in Alabama with a population of 200,000. Yikes. That was way off. I think it was just giving me, like, Cars vibes, so I was picturing the town from Cars. Because mobile, you know, an automobile. Automobile! That's where Mobile came from in my brain. Sweet. Glad we tied up that loose end, because that was gonna start bothering me after a while. That's really cool. What's the capital of Alabama? I'm assuming that's not the capital of Alabama, because I haven't heard of it before. But then again, I did not grow up stateside, so I'm not very familiar with the United States. Just to let you know, we don't date our cousins. Okay, that's very good. That's very good. I was tempted to ask, but, you know, figured I'd be respectful to a fellow, or not to a fellow, well, to an Alabamian, you know. Wanted to pop the question, but just, you know, figured I should let you be. That's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, what is the capital of Alabama? I don't remember. Well, I would say remember, but I don't think I knew. Montgomery. Okay, no, I definitely knew that at one point. I don't remember what point that was, but I probably learned it in class at some point in my life. Because Montgomery definitely sounds familiar. But that's also like a very common last name. The chat is so delayed. Oh, I'd imagine, yeah. YouTube delay. That's the problem with the dual streaming. Both YouTube and Twitch have their pros and cons. Twitch right now is twitching, so that's kind of the problem with Twitch. It's being a problem. It's being a pain in the butt, and just not working properly. And then YouTube works pretty consistently and works pretty smoothly, but it doesn't have all the features of Twitch, so it's not very interactive. As it's not as interactive as like Twitch chat is, because you don't have like all of the things you can do. That should definitely be a twofer. This tree is big enough. So it is a problem, because obviously that means you gotta wait a long time before I can respond, and that's assuming I look at it fast enough, but I think it's like a 30-second delay. And that's just because the shorter you make that delay, the more it takes on the computer to think, like the more internet intensive it is. Because I think I like a while ago had it change. No, that's not right. See, I wasn't looking. But it was a little intense on the computer, but I don't remember. So I definitely have tried doing that before, because it is nice to have not a delay, and that way it's more interactive. But It'll probably decrease quality. I think that's what it does. It decreases quality because it has to do everything real time, which makes it a lot harder on both computers, I think, both ends. It's a lot more intense. This dog's barking keeps throwing me off because they changed the way it sounds. So I keep hearing this, like, weird noise in the background, and I'm like, what is that noise? And I'm like, oh, it's the dog. The dog be barking. See, look at that. I hit aim lock. Alright, we're almost done with the details, which is very nice. We have, like, I think we just have a couple more trees. I think we just have these trees right here. So that's good to know. Okay, I thought I was out of spruce buttons. I'm like, there's no way. Oh, that's why, because I turned off hand restock. Did not mean to do that. Oh! I fell. Do I want to put one on the side, or do I want to put it? Yeah, I do. I actually lost my mobile build at mobile. I actually lost my mobile build. It was pretty much at the world border. Oh, did you trim chunks? And it got trimmed or something like that? I lost a few scaffoldings on the way, but I mean, this stuff is pretty easy to make, so I'm not awfully concerned about the loss of. I suppose the 5 does have a little, like, dip in it, so you know where it is. I think that was the last tree. I really gotta, like, walk through this whole forest and make sure that I got every tree. Because we just want to get those details out of the way first. Then, truly finish off the trees. Okay, so I didn't get this guy. I missed this guy, which is fine. Let's put a knot. Like, I want to go one higher. Never mind. That's fine. It's staying there. We're just not gonna worry about it. Okay, well, I lost another piece of scab. Oh no, it's there. We're good. We're good. Keep your eyes peeled. Let me know if you see any trees that are lacking knobs or shrooms or sticks. Looks like I got every tree. I see something on every single tree. Very good. I don't see any naked trees here. Great. All right, rock time. It is time to build rocks. It's very exciting. After rocks, so the reason why I don't know what to do after the rock portion of the build is because I'm torn between two ideas, right? I could either build the or not build, but bone meal the ground to get all the grass in place, and then remove a lot of grass to replace certain parts with moss. The problem with the moss thing is, of course, when you bone meal moss, it spreads the moss, and we don't really want to do that because we want the moss to be in spots that we designate, right? Okay, I did get a bunch of tuff. I need those, andesite's probably good as well. Cobblestone. Andesite. Okay. I thought about using tuff. The rock that we've already built is the one that's right over here. So we're kind of trying to make more like this. Now we want to use andesite kind of as the lighter side, I think. Or I don't know. I don't think I'm going to texture these in the way of light, like how it would hit light-wise. We're just going to make it not one color, I think is my plan. And that's the plan. So we want to build more rocks because we want to cover up this rock and make it blend in because, again, there's a secret entrance here that we want to hide. So let's take out all of the things. Let's take out like 2 stacks of everything. Well, I don't have 2 stacks of those. Get everything on the ready. Perfect. So I want to go through like this guy and swap up. Put a little bit of andesite in there. I think that'll look good. Okay. So now we need to put in a few more rocks. And now it's kind of thinking while also turning the brain off to just place blocks. You know? And we create a rock. They're more like piles of rubble. I think it would be better probably to keep the rocks more on the edge. Yeah, there's the terraforming that you can see. Which is fine. This whole bit of land, believe it or not, was terraformed. Crazy, I know. I kind of like the idea of a little bit of grass kind of like growing within this rock that's here. I think that looks pretty cool. Yeah. All right. It's just kind of, I don't know how many rocks I want to build. But obviously we need like a decent amount of rockage going into this. You'd be surprised. It's turning your brain off makes you think a lot harder sometimes. Let's go ahead and put like a rock right next to this tree. Kind of like round it up near the tree, eh? Really gotta think right now. Boom. And of course, a lot of these rocks are gonna be like covered, you know. But let's put another one like right out here. I am aware that I am out of cobblestone. Oops, that's not supposed to go there. Stairs, but That's fine. We can't really put any on this edge, but we can put some right here. I think that'll look pretty good. Yeah. I think that looks pretty good. It is getting dark. It is sleepy time. We'll be grabbing something to drink in a little bit. I'm getting thirsty. And my lack of cobblestone is becoming a problem. Everything else I think we're fine on. I'm sorry. I'm just so locked in right now. It is insane how locked in. I'm not gonna do any on that side. We're gonna kind of keep this side bare because of pardon me, pig. Holy, what a shot! What a shot that was! You see that? That was crazy. How are we liking these rocks? Do you think that's enough rockage? That's a lot around here. We kind of need to go put some more, like, down here. I kind of like that. That little guy, right? Or not? It's very much not a little guy. Be concerned if that was one of the little guys. Very cobblestone heavy right there. Not necessarily intentional. Oops. Yeah. I think probably the bone meal, like getting the grass down, would be really good to do next. I think that's probably the play. Get the grass down, and then we can start fiddling some of the other stuff. That's better for the rockage. I'm pretty definitely want a rock on this like hard hard graded edge here to break it up. Probably a good idea. Oop, that's stone done. Let me grab out more. Hello, piggy. Don't get in my way, piggy. It'll end very poorly for you. Trust it will be a very bad day for you specifically. Get the frick out of my way, piggy. That's it. I told you. Consider yourself warned. I already killed him. But he has been warned. Alright. That definitely helps that edge up, clean that up a little bit. You obviously got the rockiness over here. That we want to keep this edge a little bit cleaner. I think I'm happy with that amount of rockage. I think that's enough rocks for the area. If you think about it, there really aren't that many rocks in the area. It's more, they're less of like boulders or anything like that. I'm just gonna put down all the empty ones and then put down all the full ones and figure out what goes in what. So that goes in there. That goes in there. No, that is more. Alright, perfect. Nice. Okay. Perfect. Shulker Tooltips. That's the mod that, I believe it's Shulker Tooltips that allows me to see, I don't know. Oh, I see. I can move it off. Very nice. Okay. Cool. So, now, let's look at what we've already done before in an area like this and see what we want to do. So this is what we're trying to emulate right here. This is what we're going for. So at the base of every single tree, I actually put this. So actually, we need to do this treatment to every single tree that's in this area. We need all of them to look like that. And have that dirtiness on it. And I'm thinking in all of the bright patches, like all of these little like bright areas, maybe more like these areas where there's like a large gap and sun can really come through, we want to put moss. So that way it looks like bright grass. I need to do this. So it's podzol arounds, then coarse dirt, and then rooted dirt on the edge, and then actual dirt if I could fit it in there. So we got to do that to every single edge that there is. And then after that's done, then we can go through and bone meal the grounds to get all the grass in, to get the bulk of the grass in, break a lot of it, get rid of the flowers, then find patches for wildflowers, put in bushes and fireflies, and then find the patches for the moss, and then manually put grass and all the other stuff on top of it so we don't spread it on in a ways that we don't want to. This is not the right one. That's not the right one. Okay, so we need this to, holy. That's not good. I only have 61 podzol. I have no coarse dirt. Dude, 12. Don't worry about the dirt. I've got plenty of dirt. We got plenty of dirt. So that's a coarse dirt done. I think we need that much. Yep, to get a full shulker box of coarse dirt. Very nice. So we have the coarse dirt. We have the regular dirt. We just need the unfortunate reality, which is rooted dirt and podzol. Does anybody sell podzol? Because otherwise we've got a lot of digging. Podzol or rooted dirt? Can you craft rooted dirt by combining roots and dirt? Is that a crafting recipe? Because if it is, that could make life a lot easier. That could make life a whole lot easier to craft that. Otherwise, we're going to have... Well, we might be fine. For right now, I'm not going to worry about it because we have enough. We have enough. What store would even sell rooted dirt? Ooh, I don't think there is a store that sells podzol. The only store I could think of is this variety store that's way in the back. Not this one. This is the variety store, but this is like variety nether. Which is not what I'm looking for. And you got that. It's this store back here that just kind of... a whole bunch of stuff. So this is tools. Food. Ooh, bricks is nice. These are nice. Armor. Kind of like cheap armor. Full gear. Though it's not my usual enchantment, so that's not very handy. Then we got color, which is all terracotta, which is good. Somebody left their bed there. Sugar pies, man. Glass, bookshelves, dripstone. This is actually some pretty good stuff over here. Unfortunately, it's not the stuff I'm looking for. So I really need rooted dirt. Shoe. Or podzol. I need podzol. Don't think Jordan sells that stuff. He sells... not podzol. Unfortunately. Maybe this guy has... also Jordan shop. Dirt's up here. He sells gravel, though. 1 diamond for 2 stacks. Is that the price of gravel? He doesn't have a price on it. But I mean... I take that. Some frogolites. Okay, rooted dirt is sold. 1 diamond per slot. Trust me, it's worth it. It is legitimately worth it. For rooted dirt, 32 friggin' things is 32 trees that I'd have to grow. Other than that, or I guess I could go to another place. This is my shop, by the way. The iron golem. This is my favorite part of the shop. I'm very happy with this. Very proud of this spot. It's a little dizzying to get up here, but look at this. The lounge. We got foosball. We got pool. We got ping pong. We got video games. It's kind of crazy up here. All that, and you get cheaper items and buy one, get one free coupons you can buy for the rest of the store. But it costs 5 diamonds to get access to that zone per month. Alright, so it doesn't look like there is anything else. This is oak and pale moss. Yeah, so there's no podzol. So that means I'm going to have to figure out somewhere where I can get a ton of podzol. It either go to a taiga, old growth taiga, which I don't know where one is. We could find one. And mine a bunch of stuff. Alright. Let me fly to, like, the furthest reach of something. Let's see here. I'm gonna fly this way. We're gonna follow this. We're gonna fly down. I don't know where this yellow leads, but we're gonna follow it. We're gonna try to find a taiga biome that has stuff. We also are updated. I have not checked out any of the new stuff, so if there's anything new, right? We want to keep going south. So this is where the terracotta is. We're gonna just fly south or north. Actually, we're flying north. Okay. Until we come across new stuff. Or we see a geyser and get distracted. Because I don't know if any of this has been loaded yet. But obviously, if it has, we're not going to find any of the sulfur stuff. But if not, it'd be pretty cool. I will pick up some sulfur cubes if that is the case. Okay, a jungle. Jungle is not very useful. The opposite of what we're really after here. We need cold biomes. Alright, but this place is actually pretty cool. Look at this little cove here. Wow. Some crazy terrain generation over here. What the heck? Like, I can't be I'm trying to stay above it, but it's hard because this is... Hold on. I gotta take a look at this place. Ooh. 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 Hello. Don't really need any of this, but it's good to know that there is calcite right here. Good to know. That'll be useful for the future. Let's keep going north until we find something. When I find something, or if I don't end up finding anything, that's our stopping point. I don't want to fly too far away, because I got to think about the journey back, though. I'll probably just set up a portal, go to the roof of the nether, and then fly back that way. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll go through the nether to get back. Either that... I wonder what would be faster. Would it be faster to do the nether, or to go to the end? But that means you'd have to find an end point. Oh, here's cold biome. No, it's straight jungle. Alright, well... Mostly been ocean so far. Warm and ocean. We're going to save these rockets. We're going to try to drag this out. And we'll either find geysers, and therefore sulfur caves. The new stuff. Or we'll find what we're looking for. Keep your eyes peeled. Man, this is not looking great for us right now. That's our last rocket, so we're going to try to fly as far as possible. The amount of oceans that we've come across has been very, very concerning. No geysers, though. Crazy. Crazy that we don't have no geysers. So that makes me ask the question if this is new terrain or not. Or if somebody has flown out this far. I can't imagine, but it's surprisingly not laggy, which makes me think that we're not loading new chunks currently. Okay, we are coming in for a landing. Because I have run out of airtime. We found a cherry blossom biome. We have run out of airtime. We checked the map. We have not crossed at all where we wanted to. So we're going to place a portal down and head back. And I think I'm going to go to Denali's base because he lives in a cold biome and therefore be a lot easier. It'd be a lot easier to get back home. Okay. So we will just do that and get back home. This is negative 129 by negative 1184. So we now need to go to the roof of the Nether, get ourselves up there, and then we'll be golden. And I'm going to grab something to drink. That should give me some new energy. Gentlemen, this is why I don't like exploration. Because it's like, I need a resource, and I need to explore for the resource. But that, it might, who knows how long that takes, because now I have to get lucky and hope that I get the item. This is why I don't like Skyblocks, because things just take too long. At least in the regular base game, you know, in this, you can... Come on. Alright, I can't see nothing, so we're going to turn gamma on. Alright. This does not feel tall enough. Yeah, that is not. Is that tall enough? Yeah, it looks like somebody has been out here before. Which is kind of crazy. I'm like, there ain't no way I don't have ender pearls somewhere in my ender chest. Ain't no way. Okay. And it was 129. By 1184. And we profit a little bit of that. We don't need any of that netherrack. We don't even need to go through this portal. We should head south. That's basically it. We just need to head south to... We need to go to that. That is home. Okay. Because we can find it like an old growth taiga, we can just mine the podzol from that. Which I'm pretty sure there was one that I went to. But because I updated, that also means... Yeah, it looks like somebody does in fact live out here or has explored. So that wasn't great for finding new terrain. I did not know that. That's fine. Not that we were out there for that. It was more of like, I'd be happy if we got that. Because I do want to do things with the sulfur cubes, for sure. Oh, shizzle. Okay. So I am going to grab something to drink real quick. I'm going to log out just to be safe. We'll do ER, tree, and rock, 7, 30, 26. Remind me to restart that replay when I get back on, because I need to restart that replay. Alright, I will be right back. Alright, gentlemen, I am back with a drink. Alright. Now we are refreshed. We don't need to keep that on, actually. We just need to turn it on when we get back to building the forest. So we fly out this way, we follow this. I want that back on. I want to keep that on. Alright. Alright. Very good. So this is a knowledge place. He's building a very, very cool minigame. You should check out his channel if you want to know about it. We, however, have come to go south. Even further than his base. We plan to go south. Doesn't matter if we load new terrain or not. We want to find Podzol. That's what we're doing. This ought to be the best way to find it, to find an old growth taiga. Because presumably they'd be right next to each other. But I don't know. We're just kind of flying in, hoping for the best. If we don't end up finding Podzol on this run, we'll just have to farm it ourselves, which is fine. Oh, that's a mark. I don't want to get close to that. Okay. I just remembered what I had previously planned to talk about yesterday for today's stream. War motion's not great. Here's the topic for right now. Alright? Here's a hot take opinion that I've got that we're going to dive into. I think in workplaces, as well as other locations as well, we should normalize unfairness. Okay, let's unpack that. What do I mean by that? What I mean... That's not good. This is obviously not new terrain. Let's follow this. All right, so what do I mean by that? I mean, let's say, to give the literal example, at my workplace, literally a week and a half ago, you were allowed to listen to music while you worked, right? And I had literally asked about it, and then a week and a half later, no longer allowed to do that. It was funny because little context, I was afraid to do it when I had asked for permission to do it, just in case I misheard, whatever. I'm like a double, triple checker, all that kind of stuff. I need to really make sure I heard you right. So I hadn't done it, and then I finally decided to do it yesterday, and then one of my fellow employees was like, hey, are we allowed to do that now? Because I know you're not somebody who would usually break the rules, so if you're doing it, are we allowed to do it again? And then I was like, I was unaware that it was no longer allowed to be done. I thought we were always allowed. Well, I had asked a week and a half ago about it, and apparently in that time, it had actually been stripped away. So I'd asked my bosses about it, because now I was like, well, now what? And they're like, yeah, no longer allowed to do it for safety reasons and all that. Most likely, somebody wasn't paying attention and something happened. An accident happened, And they determined that the root cause was the headphones. Either that, or the higher-ups just decided this is how it's going to be. They don't really care. They just said, this is how it's going to be. Doesn't really matter. But if it was because one person had an accident and couldn't manage listening to whatever they were listening to, let's say music for the example, if they couldn't handle listening to music at the same time, here we are, gentlemen. Here we are, gentlemen. Sorry. This is what we wanted. So, for that one guy who wasn't able to manage listening to music at the same time that he was able to do his job, he singularly should no longer be allowed to listen to music or have headphones in while he works, or have an earbud in, more accurately. That one guy should no longer be allowed that luxury, whereas the rest of us who were able to do it and were doing it just fine should be allowed. And then, therefore, anyone else who's unable to manage having, being able to listen to music while they work. Oh, oh, yes. Of course, dirt also spawns in here, so we're just gonna dig up this whole place and get ourselves a whole bunch of goodies. Right? I think we should normalize unfairness, because a lot of times it's like, all it takes is one person to break a rule, and now the rule's installed. And it's like, well, really, you need rules for the rule breakers. You need a way to punish the people who are breaking the rules. That makes sense. We should keep that. But I'm just saying, for those people who don't break rules, i.e. me, not singularly me, but there are other people like me who also don't like breaking the rules, who are going to follow the rules regardless, shouldn't be punished because other people are being stupid. You know? Because that's in a sense, that's unfair to us. And so, no matter what, it's unfair to somebody, and it's always unfair to the loyal. You know? And it was very sad, because when I had listened to music while working, it was the best experience ever, right? I also love, watching live streams while I work on projects. Like, when I play Minecraft alone, I always have a live stream going on in the background. So it's nice to have that for me. And so I was like, finally, I can now do that at work, which made work much more enjoyable, because it took the work out of it, you know? I got to just enjoy the live stream while working, and then it turns out, oh, wow, we're not allowed to do that for safety reasons. Now, it's very possible we'll be able to get it back eventually, because a lot of times when you work at a place like Walmart, those kind of things come and go. It just happens that way. But most likely, somebody did something and wasn't paying attention and crashed into another person because they were listening to music, and they couldn't hear said person say, hey, I'm right here, because they were blasting their music so loud you could hear it outside of the headphone. You know? Or, I mean, again, it might just be the higher-ups being dinguses, and they just decided, yeah, this is probably not safe, because they saw the penetrance. And maybe it wasn't even our store it was another store that also did that, and they messed up, and now our store has to, all stores across the board have to now follow the same rules. That's not great. So we should normalize unfairness in the sense of, if one person is able to handle it, let that one singular person get that luxury. If Jimmy over here can listen to music and work, and it's like statistically, he works better with music going on in the background, like his own personal music, because like Walmart plays their own music, and to be fair, most of Walmart's music is also in my playlist anyway, so there's like not that much, but it's actually the ads for me personally that are more annoying and that I wanted to blot out and not listen to anymore was all of the Walmart ads. Instead of listening to my own personal music. I just wanted to not hear the same ads about the same things every single day for the same 8 hours. Because you hear the same ads like 10 times in one day, and that's 10 times per day, per week, per every week you work. It's a lot to listen to the same stuff over and over again. It gets really annoying really quickly. So it'd be really nice to be able to put in an earbud and blot that out. It won't do it completely, but enough. And I'm like, personally, I'm a very aware person. I'm just generally aware of my surroundings and all of that. It's very rare that I wouldn't be aware. Like, truthfully, I tend to always be looking around and making sure that I'm not in people's ways and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I'm generally on top of that kind of stuff. But other people are the exact opposite. They just completely are unaware of their surroundings. Which is always annoying for the people who are completely aware, because now I have to get stuck behind you because you're not paying attention. But either way, it felt like I probably was doing my best work I had ever done when I was listening to something, and now that was stripped away from me. So I feel like I never should have done it in the first place, because now I know. Now I've tasted something so sweet that I can never have again. Right. And probably by the time it comes back, I would have gone on my leave of absence, because I'll be at school by that point. So it wouldn't matter anyways. It's just sad, man. Yeah. And I think the same should be true in education. Where if one student is, again, same concept, music during an exam. Let's say that's the thing. It's an exam. It's a 2-hour-long exam. A lot of people listen to music while they study. So, like, listening to music helps them because they listen to music when they study. So it kind of puts them into that lull. And now they remove the stressor of being in an exam. It's now treat it like you're studying again. And so for most students, that helps them. But for Jimmy over there, yeah, he's cheating. He recorded the answers, and you catch him cheating. So now you have to get rid of headphones, period. Why don't we just say, Jimmy, you're not allowed to have headphones because we know you cheat. We caught you cheating. All it takes is once. We got you cheating once. You're not allowed to do it ever again. You have to learn how to deal with that consequences. You're right, it's unfair, but life's unfair. And I think we should normalize that line of thinking, that life's unfair. You're not always going to get what you want. And if you screw up, you screwed up. Now you have to deal with the consequences. But the problem is, with too much, we try to cater to people, I think, way too much. Where it's like, we have to change it because this one guy is ruining it. Or, this one guy doesn't like it, whatever. And I'm like, we should just normalize the fact that it's going to be different for each individual person. What works for one won't work for others. And we should normalize that things are going to be different. If you can't follow the rules properly, then you don't get the benefits of following the rules properly, If you're not willing to follow the rules, then all of the people who do follow the rules will reap the benefits of that and get, essentially special prizes for doing that by getting privileges that you aren't allowed to have. And now when you say, well, why can this person have it? Because that's always the thing with fairness, is it ends up becoming, well, if this person can have it, then why can't I? And now it's like, okay, well, either everyone has it or no one has it. But we shouldn't have that mentality anymore. We should normalize the mentality of this person has it because they've proven that they can handle that they can work well in those conditions. They've proven to us that that's not a hindrance. You, however, have proven the exact opposite. Now, maybe in younger grades, like elementary, we keep things fair because kids that young don't understand. They legitimately just won't get it. Then you get to middle school, and I think that's when they would start to understand. And by the time you get to high school, they would have this understanding already unlocked within their brain space. They would understand what needs to happen. They would get it, you know? And I think that's a very beautiful thing. I did see an azalea tree in here, so if we wanted to, we could get more rooted dirt. Which I feel like we might as well do, right? We're here already. That's all I'm saying. Normalize unfairness. Normalize the fact that life's unfair. And so, because I think, think about it. Think about entitled people. And I think a lot of entitled people are entitled because their whole life they grew up in this fair community where everything, like, no other person got something better than another person. And so when they got to the real world and realized that people are getting different things, they don't like that. They don't like it when they see successful people because they themselves are not successful. They think that for some reason the money they make impacts them. And it's like they made better business decisions. They weren't stupid. They knew what they were doing, so they are reaping the benefits of that choice. Whereas you are reaping the benefits of the choices you made. But because it was normalized that everything is fair, so if one person has a lot of money, then everyone has a lot of money, or no one has a lot of money. That's the normalized ideology that's built in school, and then later built and enforced in some workplaces. I don't know about all others. But we should really get rid of that because the world doesn't really function that way. And so it's leading people into a false sense of security in this kind of fairness. Because I didn't even think about the ideology sense of the matter, you know? I was mainly going off of just the whole, some people should be allowed to do some things. But it makes sense why some people are way more entitled than others. Because literally, that's all they've known, is that everything is fair. So if it's not fair, well, either you have to make it fair and you have to balance the scales, or, yeah, the scales have to balance, basically. That's what everyone thinks. The scales have to balance. Going back to the money example, if you have a lot of money, the scales have to balance. Either I somehow get a lot of money to match you, or you somehow lose all of your money so you match me. And at that point, you know what we're getting into now? We're getting into communism. Because everyone needs to be the same. Because we all need to be fair. Everyone gets the same thing. Because not one person can have more than the other. So we get very close to communistic ideas, which is crazy to say. It's a crazy statement. I know that's a crazy statement. And maybe it's not 100% correct, but we're chewing on some food thought right now. Okay, we're just thinking things. But that certainly explains a lot of reasons behind stuff. So, yeah. I've always been interested. This is going to relate, trust. One thing I really want to do is I love the idea of having my own climbing gym. Okay? Of having my own climbing gym. Okay? I think that would be really cool. Obviously, if I owned my own climbing gym, I would eventually need to hire other people. In that workplace, I think I would normalize this unfairness. Meaning, if some people work better in certain conditions and are able to work let's say listening to music. Let's say literally, like basically saying you're allowed to do anything you want. To start, you're allowed to do anything you want. However, if it is proven that doing said thing is hindering the workplace, it'll be stripped away. And you personally won't be allowed to do it anymore. So be wise with what you do, what you decide you want to allow yourself to do, because that thing may go away. I mean, you think about somebody who sits at the front desk. All right, well, yeah, I honestly, personally, don't see a problem with somebody playing a video game or watching a video. Now, I think generally only one earbud in, because I would want you to be able to hear things. I would want you to be able to hear if your name's being called or anything like that. So, like, generally, there are some ground rules that'll just be in play because of what I think would make sense. Because, and again, that's the unfairness. You're like, but your whole thing is... but at the same time, I make the rules. So whatever I say goes. That's unfair. Because it's up to my subjectivity that ends up making the decisions. But you just got to deal with that. That's what workplaces are. You just got to deal with that. But it's not the things themselves, again. But, like, if somebody wants to watch a YouTube video while they're working, that's fine. But if you are prioritizing that YouTube video over your job and not helping customers or not paying attention, you know what I mean? Like, that's a problem. I won't allow that. You have proven to me that you can't do that. And in the same vein, you could probably extend that to other things. Okay, well, if you can't watch a YouTube video and do your job at the same time, then you probably also can't listen to music or, you know, whatever else you want to put in there. You can't do those two things at the same time. You have proven to me if you can't do the one, what makes me think you'll be able to do the other? And if they can make a good argument that they should be allowed to, maybe they will never be able to get the one back. So if they could watch the YouTube video while working the front desk, they're not going to get that ability back. Right? They're not going to get that back. Because they're just not. They have proven to me that you can't do that. However, if you make a good argument, for music, like, okay, I think the main issue with the YouTube video is it was visual. It was distracting me. I now see that. However, I miss the auditoriness of having the video, and that's why I liked it, because I like being able to listen to something. Would I be allowed to listen to music, one earbud in? And when the person comes to me and they're like, hey, I noticed my problem here, and they're starting to offer different solutions for that problem, then I would be more likely to trust them that they do in fact mean what they're saying, and they will in fact change. And then maybe after proving that they can work with music, maybe then I allow other stuff. And I allow them to do, you know, maybe I allow the YouTube video back again. Because they've proven that they've changed and now they can handle it. And guess what? They can, because they learned. But if I just get rid of it outright, they'll never truly learn. All that'll make them do is salty towards me. Because they're like, oh, great, now you've got rid of that. Now all the other people who were fine doing that, everyone else could watch YouTube videos. They all pause the video and help the customer first. Like, they would pause the video before the customer even entered. Like, they would preemptively pause it when they saw them outside at the door. But this one employee would never pause the video, would never hear what the customer's saying because it's always playing in the background and they have an earbud in, so they would never make an attempt to listen better. Like, signs like that, where it's like, okay, very clearly you were showing that you're not able to do both. Everyone else is fine. They're able to do it. I think they should continue to be allowed to do that. It's making the workplace enjoyable for them. And happy workers are workers that probably want to stick around longer because they have it good. But if we punish everyone for one person's incompetence, then no one learns. And if that one person is like, oh my gosh, you're taking away just for me, that's so unfair, I'm leaving. Okay, I'll just find somebody who will follow the rules, who won't do these things. Actually, give me the mushrooms. Give me them mushrooms. I want the mushrooms. Mushrooms are good, dude. Not like to eat. Well, I mean, building-wise. Building with mushrooms. Mushrooms are good. I don't really care for them eating. Anyways, that's all I'm saying. You know? Because the problem is, we've set it in so fair, and I think that's why a lot of places lose retention. That's why I think a lot of retail places have such bad retention. Not only is the jobs usually not great, but there's so many restrictions on what you can and can't do, and then all it takes is one person to really break the rule, and now everyone's day is ruined, because now all of the people who are fine and able to manage before are doing just fine. But all of the, and then all of the good people, now you're going to lose the good people, because all the bad people are making it hard for them to stick around. But if you singularly punish the bad person for doing something bad, that really should be normal and should make sense. And nobody is really, like, no one's gonna, I feel like people really shouldn't be looking at that and be like, I can't believe you'd only take it away for that one person. It has been proven that this doesn't work. But I'm like, it was proven for that person it didn't work, but for everybody else it was working just fine. It was actually improving their work. But we only looked at the one case scenario where that wasn't the case and are now using that as the basis for our statistic. We have a statistic of 1. That's not a very good statistic. That's very bad statistics, is having a statistic of 1 and having that be all statistic, the end-all be-all statistic. Oh, this one person couldn't handle it, so now that means no one else can. No, that just means that one person can't. Now, if the statistic does show that watching the YouTube video while working the front desk generally decreases productivity, such as maybe things that should be getting cleaned aren't done, all these secondary tasks aren't getting done, then yeah, we would say, okay, statistically, looking at previous work, we've noticed that this is not yielding good work. Like, y'all aren't working enough. So we're going to say you can't do this anymore because it is, legitimately statistically proven that you aren't able to do the work well. And maybe once workforce gets back up, and again, the people make a case and say, hey, we realize what was going wrong the first time, and we try again. And we will make sure that we periodically clean, we periodically do all of these other things, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is that would need to be done while working the front desk at a climbing gym, we make sure all those things are done. I mean, it's stuff like making sure the shoes are clean, making sure the belts are clean. And that's the kind of stuff where, like, when a customer hands it back to you, a patron, technically. We're dealing with patrons, not customers. When a patron hands it back to you, you just clean it right then and there. And then you don't got to worry about it. Problem solved. And you can get back to the YouTube video. And while nothing else is going on, but if you see something dirty, clean it. You know, don't leave it there. If you begin to leave it there, yeah, we're going to take that away from you because you've shown that the YouTube video is more important than what you're getting paid to do. I don't pay you to watch YouTube videos. It's just I'm allowing that to happen. That's a luxury you won't get anywhere else. So you better take care of that luxury and try to keep it, you know? Don't prove to me that you're unable to do that. Because that's not going to end well for you. And again, singularly, you. There's 2 of them. So I think normalizing unfairness in the workplace would benefit it. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this has been done before and there's been studies on it and it's been proven that it just doesn't work. Because at the end of the day, people suck. I don't know. You know, at the end of the day, it just doesn't work. But I don't know. I've never owned a business. I've never been a manager necessarily. So I've never been in a position where I could try these things. Because I'd like to try it. I'd like to see it for myself. Who knows? Maybe I should go to my bosses and give them this video essay and be like, hey, this is what I think. What do y'all think? Oh, man. I just wanted to eat, man. Some good... That's 2 pieces of puzzle that I just lost. Funny, I'm using my main shovel right now, right? Um, but I literally made a ton of shovels just the other day, specifically to mine, like, sand and gravel. But nonetheless, I still have shovels for this task specifically. And I'm not using them at all right now, which I think is kind of funny. Horse dirt. Oh. Dude, taigas are the bomb to get resources. Absolute bomb to get resources. Alright, I'm going to go back to a topic I was talking about on Tuesday, which is AI again. I want to bring that back up because I recently came across some new information that was really interesting. Which is basically, I think the biggest problem with AI isn't the AI itself, but the humans behind it. Basically, all of the problems that people have with AI itself are not with the AI, but with how people choose to use AI, which at that point, it's not a problem of the technology. It's a problem of the people using the technology. Because the technology is very good, it's very powerful, and there are correct ways to use it. However, we as humanity are not using it in those ways, and therefore, people don't like that, but they're blaming the technology. They're literally hating the game instead of hating the players. And that's why it's becoming a problem. Because it's like, okay, yeah. And yeah, we already like, a lot of the stuff I discussed about AI and the problems surrounding it, all of them pretty much were that premise of just, it's the humans at the end of the day who aren't capable of using AI ethically. That's the issue. The AI itself is neutral, but how you choose to use it determines how ethical that use is. Because personally, I use a lot of AI because it's very handy, because it's a tool. You know, it's a tool that I use because it's a very powerful tool. But I treat it like a tool. You know, I treat it like a helpful source. You know? Such a good dirt mine, dude. Alright, I think that's good for Podzol. Obviously, coarse dirt as well. We got a little bit of extra dirt in there as well. We are going to now mine. I actually have a... Also, why was there dirt in there, brother? What? Alright, let's fill up a shulker box of friggin' rooted dirt, dude. Rooted dirt. Kind of a really annoying resource to gather in large quantities. I ain't even gonna lie. It is really annoying to mine and get a ton of this stuff because of how intertwined it is with everything around it. So we're just gonna mine. Yeah, we're gonna do no hand restock. We're gonna tool switch. Yeah, because it's funny, because one guy was saying that AI takes away creativity, right? I'm like, it really doesn't. It only takes away creativity if you, as the person using it, take away the creativity by not being creative and only using AI to do all of your creative bidding for you. You don't have to use AI like that. You do, like, I think you just realize, you don't realize that you can use AI for any other, like, for anything else. You just genuinely don't realize that it can do more than just that. But you're so single-minded that all you can see the potential of AI is literally removing of creativity. I think you're just wrong at that point. Because, like, I consider myself a pretty creative person. I'm not imaginative, which is why AI is very helpful. Because a lot of times I'm very creative. I have this cool idea in my head, but it's just an idea. It's like fragmented. I can't put the idea together. And let's say the idea is for a movie poster. I can't really flesh out in words what it looks like because I can't tell. But I just got this idea of general pieces and parts that would make it really cool. Well, guess what I can do? I can go to AI, prompt it to make an image of this movie poster, and tweak it until I get something that looks like I'm wanting, and say, this is what I want. And then the graphic design artist can then go in and do all the cool stuff. And then I paid them for it. Isn't that amazing? But people forget that stuff like that exists, and we're allowed to do that. Like, we can use AI like that. Like, that's how it should be used. I agree, we shouldn't be using it to do the work for us. We shouldn't be doing it like that. However, it's a useful tool. Brainstorming is a great thing that it's used for. Not everybody has the time to brainstorm with you. So having a tool that you can use for free that can help you brainstorm, that has more knowledge than your friends, that has the knowledge of the entire internet at its fingertips, yeah, that's going to be a pretty good brainstorming partner. And no, it does not take away from the creative process, because you're the one prompting it. So at the end of the day, you're the one creatively coming up with the ideas and the prompts to brainstorm, and then it's giving you ideas, and then your brain is connecting those ideas, and sometimes, yeah, it has a really cool idea. But what's the difference between going to Google and looking up everything versus going to ChatGPT and more, for lack of a better term, face-to-face communication brainstorming versus just searching up like, oh, Google, what are good planetary rhymes for songs? Instead, you can ask ChatGPT and be like, okay, well, what specifically rhymes with this? Instead of like 1,000 individual Google searches, that'll take you much longer versus a much faster conversation with AI, with George Paul Thomas, can get you this, will give you the same answers. And it's up to you to decide whether you want to use them or not. Like, it's not it's not an end-all be-all. It's not like it's doing it for you. It's just helping you in that process. And I think people fail to see that potential. And again, I think those people are going to get left behind. I don't think they're going to make it very far. Because they're too stuck up and thinking they can do it better, that they don't need this extra help. And I'm like, okay, you don't, yeah, you're right, you don't need it, but like, oh boy, it is helpful. It is certainly helpful. It has improved my skills as a writer, as a script writer, because I could brainstorm and check character profiles a way human intelligence never could, because they, it's asking your friend to do that for you means that they would have to be subject matter experts in a whole bunch of niche categories that they just aren't subject matter experts at. Surprise, surprise. Most people aren't subject matter experts on the Enneagram. Right? So if I want to know, are my characters correctly written for their Enneagram, most of my friends would have literally no idea because they don't know the Enneagram. And that's perfectly fine. They don't need to know the Enneagram. But AI, it does, because it has access to the internet, and it can look it up, and it can know it in depth in a way that another person couldn't. And that's wonderful. And you can't really get that with another person. And that's fine. You don't have to. All right, that's a lot of collectathoning that I just did there, all right? Cool. Do I... want to dig out this other tree here? Not really. I kind of want to be done resource gathering. But I don't know if this is going to be enough. But we're just going to rip it and hope for the best. This is a tiny little island. Oh, man. That's fine. That's actually kind of sad. I didn't realize it was a tiny little island. All right, well, we're just going to plop a portal down. And do the same thing as before. Fly back home. All right. 107. 1626. So now we get to go back up. Do that all fun stuff. No sulfur cubes or anything. I don't know where new terrain is, what direction to go in. This server is quite extensively explored, which is kind of a problem. But it's fine. There's a gas somewhere. Alright, I'm going to get out of the nether, and I do have another topic that I want to talk about. Mainly because I just want it to be recorded so I can use it later. We're gonna get biblical over here, all right? I think we're gonna get biblical. Because the next topic I want to talk about is works. Okay? Because I got some ideas on the subject matter. That's right. Yeah, that is correct. I just had to make sure. Okay. 107. 1626. Okay. That now connects up, which is very good. We don't need another rack. Put that away. Very good. Very nice. Take those out just because I can. All right, we need to go. What direction do we need to go? We need to go in this direction. We need to go north. All right. Works, gentlemen. I went on a whole tangent with myself last night about this subject, okay? And there was some really juicy stuff in there. So we're going to see how much of it I remember, all right? First of all, works are an outward reflection of an inward change, okay? That's something I definitely have heard somewhere else before. There's no way I came up with that. I have heard that somewhere before. I've seen that somewhere before. Something that was really cool that's always been interesting is you have the law. We no longer need to follow the law, and a lot of people equate works to the law itself, like the law the Jews follow, right? And of course, the whole problem with that is Jesus came and fulfilled the law. So why do we still need to follow it? We don't really need to do works for salvation anymore, like they did with the law, because Jesus came and did away with that. You are correct, right? First truth that we have to uncover here. Salvation is through Christ alone, okay? That is truth number one. You are correct. There is nothing else that you need to do for salvation but through Christ alone. Alone? Through Christ alone, that's all that matters. You're correct. Grace is an amazing thing. However, because of that inward change of salvation and R word, what's the R word? Not redemption. Uh when you change yourself, when you self-reflect, change yourself. It starts with an R. Oh, that's so annoying. It's repentance. When you repent, that's the inward change. You become saved because of Christ and Christ alone. But now you do works as an outward reflection of that inward change. Okay? So back to the law. So the law, and this is a lot of thought. I haven't dove into it and I really want to, but that's why I want to talk about it, because I want it recorded so I can go back and hear what I said. The law was given to all of the Israelites because the heart posture of Israel was away from God. God chose his people as Israel, but they didn't really care and they didn't really want anything to do with them. And they chose other gods instead for whatever reason. I beats me why they would decide that they don't really care about God anymore and would want to follow other gods who don't exist. But hey, they do they. You do you, boo, So God, in his infinite wisdom, gave the Israelites the law. And the law was a way for the Israelites to change their heart posture so it was focused on God and not their own selfish desires. Or as the Old Testament keeps putting it, they did what was right in their own eyes. That was the problem that God saw. So God, being merciful and loving and full of grace, gave them the law so they could follow it. Literal rules written down, 600 or whatever rules that the priests figured out. But the problem is well, he gave the 10 commandments to start. The 10 laws to start. The Mosaic law. He gave that first. And that was very helpful. And then he helped build and create the law itself, the Jewish laws. That was created, right? And I'd have to, again, go do more in-depth research on what that process actually looked like, how much man had effect. But I'm willing to bet that man had a little bit too much input with the law, because eventually we get to this problem with the Pharisees where the law became more important than God himself. And it became less about focusing on God and more about following the letter of the law. And that's the problem. The point of the law was to change the Israelites' heart posture from looking at themselves and doing what was right in their own eyes and change that posture to looking towards God. But instead, it got changed to following what the law said to the letter. They're like, we got to follow the law. That's what's important. Above all things, follow the law. And then the Pharisees, once they got enacted and started existing, their whole shtick was making sure that you followed the law. Why do I have coarse dirt? Do I really not have any? Do I have it in here for some reason? No, good. It shouldn't go in there. I guess it goes in there. So, right. So that's why I think the law got enacted. Again, need to do a lot of research. Need to go through scripture and history and all whatnots to verify the details. But that's kind of where the brain space started, right? So that ended up becoming the works, and this is why people have a problem with works, because to them, the heart posture is not focused on God, but the works themselves, because that's what the heart posture of the people of Israel in the time of Jesus, that's what their heart posture was. It was more focused on the law, the letters, the traditions, all of that stuff. That's what people cared about. Then Jesus came. And when Jesus died, fulfilled those laws. All of the sacrifices that ever needed to be done, all of the burnt offering, the grain offering, etc., all of those offerings, Jesus fulfilled all of them by dying on the cross. He was the ultimate offering, the final offering, and now we get Christ alone. We are no longer saved by those offerings. We're saved because Christ died for us. Right? That's why we get saved, because it's through Christ alone. So the works didn't do anything. But the works were there to help us get that heart posture. Now, The law was the light that the Israelites were supposed to follow to point towards God. That no longer is needed because Jesus has now replaced the law and has become the new light for us to follow to the Father. That's why, which is really cool when you really look at it, when you really look at Scripture, this is really cool. Jesus, in all of his ministry, every time talks about looking to the Father. It's all about, he does everything he did so you would look to the Father. His entire ministry was based on making sure the Israelites were paying attention to God and following God. That was his whole ministry. That was his whole shtick, because he was God himself. So he's like, guys, look at God, aka look at me, but really look at the Father and everything. That's really cool. You look at the language Jesus uses, and it's all to the Father. Which is funny that when we pray, we say in Jesus' name, when Jesus' whole ministry was, hey, it's all about the Father. But again, the Trinity, whole other concept for another day. Just thought that was cool. Put that little nugget in there. So Jesus came to replace and became the fulfillment of the law and became the new light to point us towards the Father. And so with that, we get that inward change. And now the outward change is the works that follow because of grace, because of Christ. We now do works. And that's the ideology, that's the thought process that should be enacted. Not this, like, I think the biggest issue with works is most people, especially people who are really focused on grace, focus a little too hard on the fact that the works themselves, and they get too caught up in, well, now if we're doing works, what was the point of the grace? Because they still think that the works are the things that are going to save them. That's not the case. The works are a result of the change that's already happened. We get this phrase a lot, to fear the Lord. And I believe that that fear that's in there isn't like cower in fear, but this reverence and respect that we have for God. We're afraid to disappoint him. We're afraid to let him down because he has never let us down. So we would hate to do the same for him. So that's why we are told to fear the Lord. In that fear, that's where I think works comes in. Because we fear the Lord, we now want to do works because of everything he's ever done for us. Right? That's why we want to do works. Because God is good, and that's a very good thing. You know? That is a very, very good thing. And so we do works to show our love and appreciation towards God because of the things he has done for us. Right? Or at least, that's what I believe should be happening. And that is why we do works, because it is the outward reflection of an inward change. Oops, that's not right. So yeah, I think that kind of explains works in a way that I think makes sense, which is really cool. Oops. Because, like, that's a game changer right there, you know? That's a game changer. You do works. Why? Because God saved us. He did everything for us. So the least we could do for him is works. Not to gain something we already have, but to give back to something we already got. A good analogy that I used for this was, imagine your friend asks you to help him build a shed, and he says, hey, I need your help building a shed, but it's not going to be in vain. I'm going to pay you for it. For every day that you show up and work, you will get $100. If you don't show up for a day, you don't get the $100, but that's okay because you didn't work. No works, no money. So you have the decision to make. You could not show up, not get any money, no biggie. Or you go, you show up, you get $500. Pretty nice. That was the old way. Works equals the money. In God's new way, it's now, here's $500 whether or not you come and help me. But now that you've already been paid, you probably should help build the shed because you've been paid the $500 for the 5 days that you're supposed to help build this shed. You don't have to. He never said that you had to. He just gave you $500 and said, hey, I'm building a shed and I'd like your help. Here's the money for the help you gave me, including no help at all. But here's the money for it. That's grace. We're getting something that we don't deserve because we didn't do anything to get it. But we're still getting it because God's just that good. And so, like, to me, I like to use heavy language like we ought to now do works because we've already been given the money. We ought to work and build the shed because we've already been given the money to do so. So it feels wrong to not, because we were just paid to do that exact thing. So if we were to not do that thing, well, I'd feel pretty terrible if I knew I wasn't doing that. You know? I'd feel pretty bad because you paid me and I'm not helping you even though you've already paid me. I don't deserve that. And God's like, I know you don't deserve that, but I'm going to do it anyways. Your decision in the matter doesn't matter. You're getting those 500 smackaroons, help or no help. I don't care. So I think that's the, like, mentality that needs to be had when it comes to works, is not doing it to gain favor as another way people might look at it, or to gain salvation. Certainly not. We did away with that. That's what the law was there for. That's why we had the law, because we needed to do something, because we couldn't handle just accepting God on our own. We had to have another way because we couldn't handle it being the way that it was. We needed the law. We desperately needed it because we couldn't manage without it. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. So that's my 2 cents when it comes to works. And so the problem is a lot of people feel like works and grace are on opposite sides of the spectrum, but they work in correlation with each other. You know, again, because of the grace, which is getting the $500 whether or not you did something, that's the grace. We do the work because we already got it. We don't do a work because we haven't gotten it yet. We do the work because we already got it. We work because God is good. We do works because God is good. And now, what are works? What exactly define works? Because I think that is something, and in the sermon that I gave to myself last night while I was trying to go to sleep, I didn't necessarily define it, and that's something I would definitely want to go through and answer, is what exactly are works. And to me, works, especially in a modern terminology and subjectivity of my mind, works are literally anything and everything you do. Like, literally, works are your job. It's any way you choose to serve God can be a work as well. I think that's kind of the works right there. Is all that. We cannot put that there. That's personally where I lie on that spectrum. Oops. Nope. I want dirt to go there. We are losing so much of this stuff because it's falling underneath. That's fine. I tell you what, putting this down, oh, it looks good. It looks so good already. It's already looking like a forest. You know? And then we put all the growth in there, and of course it's not going to be as trimmed up as over there. We're really going to pack it in there. I realize I don't have any fallen trees, but that's fine. You don't need fallen trees. They'd look cool, but we don't need them. So yeah. And so like one of the ways, and like for me personally, one of the ways, this is the kicker right here for me, which is why it annoys me when we kind of ignore works. Because James says that faith without works is dead. Why? Because it's that outward reflection of an inward change. I believe Paul, I may be wrong, it's either Paul or Jesus. It's somewhere in the Bible. I know it's in the Bible somewhere. This is where I need to do the research to find the exact. But it says they will know you by the fruits of your labor. They will know you by the fruits that you produce. Right? Those fruits are works, which is why James says faith without works is dead, because people will know you're a Christian by the works that you do. And again, if works are literally anything and everything you do, serving God, doing your job, etc., you fill in the blanks. Works can be a more vague term because it kind of is up to you to define what you think is a work. You know? And so works are very integral and important to the Christian walk because it's that outward reflection. And people will know you are a servant of God because of the works that you do. Not the what they are, but because you're doing works, because you're good at what you do, it's going to stand out. I personally think Christians should get to a point where when they're working at their job, people surrounding them see them and can't help but say, there's something different about you and I want to know what it is. Because they noticed that there's something different about you. And now they want to know what it is. And so now it's a great opportunity for you to share the gospel with them. And it doesn't even need to be something, cheesy or anything. Like, it can literally be like, how are you able to work and be on your feet for 8 hours a day lifting heavy things? Like, how are you able to do that? And it's like, well, because my strength comes from Christ. I can endure all things through Christ who strengthens me. I love that verse in context because it's about enduring when things get hard. Well, how can you endure so long? Well, that's exactly how, because Christ is my strength. I don't get my strength off of other menial needs. For some people, it could be things such as like alcohol or just generally eating, like literal physical things like that. Like some people, need to smoke to get the edge off, or things like that. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to rely on that. I don't need that edge to be taken off. Now, maybe those are a little bit more extremist examples, but the point still stands that my strength comes from Christ. It comes from God because I can endure all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's how I'm able to last so long out here. And you live your life in a way that points there. One thing that personally annoys me, and I just really hate it, is cross necklaces or any Christian jewelry. I really don't like that. And the reason why is because you instead of doing works and instead of having fruits that people can tell you're a Christian by, instead of doing that, you copped out and chose to have a symbol be the representation of your faith. And I don't like that. Because personally, God is amazing. And this is kind of one of those statements that's like really crazy. But I think if God changed your life, wouldn't you want to do a little bit more than just wear a symbol to show your love and appreciation for the God that saved your life? Like, how, like, to me, it's just how belittling is it to the God who saved your life, and you're going to repay that kindness and love and mercy and grace by simply wearing a piece of jewelry that shows that you're a Christian instead of doing something about it. I don't know. There's something about that just really irks me. Now, maybe I'm reading into it way more than I should have. And that's not really what's going on. Again, I don't know the heart posture behind why people do that. They probably do wear it because that's how they want to show that God changed their life. Like, literally look at it, you know? And I'm like, okay. But, like, it's just, I can't help but see that as the outcome, you know? That you're copping out instead of doing works the way you should have been. You are now instead simply wearing a necklace to just show it. And I don't like that. Especially considering in Ephesians, it's more guided towards women, but not to wear fanciful jewelry. But I think in today's day and age, that can be extended as well. The concept there is still the same, which is don't dress in a way that's so pompous and mixes in with everyone else. That I feel like the cross necklace is a way for people to be like, hey, look at me. I'm like everyone else who wears necklaces, but mine shows that I'm a Christian. Like, no. Work. Do good works. They will know you by your works. They will know you by the fruits of your labor. That's how they will know. So it irks me. It truly does irk me when people have cross necklaces. Because I'm just like, no. Like, you shouldn't need that. Now, it could literally be like, hey, I just like the way it looks, and I happen to be a Christian. Like, yeah, I'm going to wear a cross necklace because I want to. And again, I might just be reading into it way too hard. And I'm superimposing superimposing what people may or may not be thinking. And that totally could be happening. It probably is, let's be honest. But still, it's one of those things where it irks me regardless. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to change or anything like that. I'm not saying any of that kind of stuff. Don't interpret it as such. Do what you do. All right? Do you, boo. All right? I am not the decision maker of your life. You are, but you should consult God before you make those decisions. I think that generally should also be an ideology. You should consult God when you make decisions. That's why God is typically like the analogy of husband and wife is used with God. Why? Because whenever, theoretically, a good marriage, you should always be consulting each other. Or at least I think you should. Like, you should always be consulting each other. So if you're not doing that, something's wrong. And similarly, you should be consulting God when you do things. You should be like, hey, God, is this okay? I think that's how a relationship with God should work. I honestly should get better at doing that. If I'm being honest, I should get better at doing that. Because I don't really do that as much as I should. So that's kind of like, I haven't been doing flashbacks this whole time. Just remembered. So that's my thoughts on works. I want to give a sermon about that. I want to go more in depth with works and find the actual verses for things for what I'm doing. It was interesting because this morning I was reading Nehemiah. Well, I'm reading through Nehemiah, but this morning I read Nehemiah 9. And there was a little text of speech that kind of went to what I was saying about the law, and how the law was given for them to help them, and instead they just decided not to let it help them. Because God's law is perfect. But then we kind of tainted God's law by imposing our own stuff on it and trying to interpret what it meant. And that's why you have so many laws regarding the Sabbath and not working on the Sabbath, because it no longer became the heart posture of why you take a Sabbath and why you need a rest day. That no longer mattered. It literally mattered, and having to give define a definition for work so people wouldn't do work on the Sabbath and then getting people in trouble. Like, that's very much not the heart posture of why God said keep the Sabbath. He didn't say keep the Sabbath because he wanted you to literally stop physically working or mentally working. No, he said it because it's healthy for you. It's generally healthy to rest. Take a rest day. Take a break, man. That's what the Sabbath is. He's like, dude, take a break. Y'all need it. If I, the God of the universe, require after 6 days of creation, require a day solely to rest, then the people that I created ought to take a rest as well. But instead, we interpret it as, okay, what counts as work? How can we define this? How can we make sure that we follow the letter of the lines? And God's just like, guys, please. Calm the frick down, okay? I wanted you to rest because I didn't want you to overwork yourselves. People, please. I think that's really funny. And there's so many laws on, like, you can't do this on the Sabbath, you can't do that on the Sabbath, you can't do this because it's all work. You can't spit in the ground because it's work. You can't eat, you can't grab food off of your crops and eat them because you're, whatever the term is for farming, because you're doing that. Like, no, that's not why I said take a Sabbath. I said take the Sabbath because you need a rest day. You need rest. Some of you people, Lord knows some of you people don't rest. That's why he created the Sabbath, because he's like, y'all need it. If I need it, you need it. Jeez. That's a piece of dirt. You ever think about that? That's a crazy thought I've never had. If God needed a day of rest, for goodness sakes, we humans certainly need a day of rest. At least. Like, think about that. And then to see how twisted it got with the laws of man, twisting it, and more accurately, the devil twisting the laws of man and forcing us to be focused on that instead of, again, the heart posture of the law was to point us towards Christ. The same way, the heart posture of when we do works should do the same thing as pointing us to Christ. Like, that should still be the same line of logic that we should follow. We do works as a representation of an outward reflection of an inward change. That's why we do works, because it shows that. Told you I had a bunch of shovels. Right. So it's just, the Sabbath is just an example of, like, how twisted the law got and how anti why the law was given in the first place the law ended up getting. Like, again, the law was set in place. Now, I have to find the verses and the research that would help support my claim. But the law was given to help the heart posture of the Israelites who did what was right in their own eyes, not do what was right in their own eyes, but do what was right in God's eyes, because what's right in God's eyes is ultimately the better decision here. Like, that's what you want to do. You want to do what's right in God's eyes because it's better for you. There is literally no downside to doing what is right in God's eyes. There's a lot of downside with doing what's right in your own eyes, and we've seen it. We've seen how it tears us apart. There's significant downside. But yeah, we still want to do it. Yeah, we still want to do it. And that's a problem. Oops. Okay. I'm afraid this grass is going to spread. Because of it being, like, underneath, and so it's going to spread up. Because that does happen. It worries me. Yeah, that is my like 5 cents for you right there. I tell you what. I think works is probably like a very misunderstood concept in scripture. I think the same way we now are misunderstanding what works are is the same like phenomena that happened with the Israelites when they misunderstood what the law was and why it was given to them. We're looking at it so literally that we're losing sight of the reason why it was given in the first place. Like, and also you have to think, like, scripture and God's not going to contradict himself. So if he said you don't have to do works to be saved, but you also have to do works, then clearly the underlying theme is doing works doesn't get you saved, but it's still an important piece of the puzzle. You know? Like, it doesn't mean those things are mutually exclusive. Like, I feel like, again, grace and works tends to get lumped into this idea that they're mutually exclusive. You can't have one and the other. You can only have one. Like, that's not true. You can have works. You can have works and grace. They can be in the same sentence. Like, they are not mutually exclusive topics. Okay? But for some reason, we treat them like they are. And then we get into problems with it. And then we misunderstand it. And now you have the two sides. The people who are so focused on grace that they don't do any works because they're afraid that they're going to be focusing on the works and everything's going to be about the works, which, I mean, is a valid fear, but that fear shouldn't govern your decision. It's a good fear to have. Fear is a good thing to have. It keeps us alive. It's why God gave us fear, but it also keeps us in line. Again, fear of the Lord. That's what you're experiencing. You're afraid of disappointing him. You're afraid of replacing him, if you will. Amen. Right? Oops. Nope. You're afraid of possibly replacing him for works. That's a valid fear. I don't blame you for being afraid of that. But that fear should not govern your decision to just not do it at all. Because you're right. Again, works aren't required for salvation. The only thing that is Christ. That's the only thing you need to worry about is Christ. Jesus Christ. Only requirement for salvation, right? However, that doesn't mean that it's not important. And then you have the other side, which are the Pharisee-like people who value works way too heavily. And now works becomes more important than their relationship with God, and it's all about doing works. And you get Pharisees, modern-day Pharisees, toxic Christianity. Because now the heart posture is still wrong. Because the heart posture is not focused. Your heart posture, at the end of the day, this is why I personally believe that cultural Christianity and toxic Christianities are the two sides of the spectrum. Because both of them deal with the heart posture. One of you, your heart posture is works above all. You know, we got to do good works for God. And if you aren't doing those good works according to my theology and ideology, you're doing it wrong. That's toxic Christianity or cultural Christianity. We don't need works. We don't need grace, but therefore we don't need to walk like a Christian. We don't need to do that anymore because grace. Not quite. I mean, there's other things that are in effect here. You know, but like you're not wrong. You're right. We don't need works, but like you're missing the point. It's not about whether or not we need or don't need them. That's not why they're there. It's a heart posture issue. And I think that's just generally the issue. Christians sometimes have bad heart posture. And that's what we should be affecting. That's what we should be attacking. Making sure we have the right heart posture for all the things. This is going to take a while to get all this. This is taking a lot more resources. I tell you what, though, look at that. It looks good. Yes. See, I tell you what. The grass is spreading. It's like it shouldn't be able to spread. That shouldn't be able to spread. That should no longer be able to spread. I do want that to be grass. I do. Welcome in, Evie. How you doing? How you doing? We just got done with a very, well, kind of done. Very good conversation about works. Oh boy, I'm almost out of resources again. I am doing good. How about yourself? How you doing? What have you been up to today? You better not be here for graphic design, because if you are, I'm going to schmooze through the roof. I'm not going to lie. I get worried when somebody comes into my stream, says hello, and sends like 4 messages really quickly back to back. You know, they're like, hello, hope you're doing well. Yeah, stream's looking really great. Build's looking really good. And like they send all 4 of those like back to back to back. And then they take a second. And they're like, I'm a graphic design artist and I'd love to do art for you. Add me on Discord. Here's my Discord. Why aren't you adding me on Discord? And I'm like, brother, go away. If you're not that, that's fine. I'd love to have you around and have you on the stream. I hope you understand. If you're not the graphic design artist, people, you understand the pain. If you're a Twitch viewer, you understand the pain. All right. Got a lot more trees to do. There's so many trees. Who built this many trees here, dude? Who's doing this to me, man? Too many trees. Computer, get rid of all these trees. So that's my 20 cents about works. It comes down to the heart posture. That's what works boils down to. Is what's your heart posture? Your general life, your heart posture should always be towards God. It should be always facing God and the Father and what He's done for you and all of that. That should be the primary focus. That's what Jesus was trying to get us to do, was make God the primary focus of our lives. That's what He was preaching. That's what He was speaking on. I firmly believe that. Like, all of what He did was to the Father. The amount of times He says Father in heaven in His ministries is crazy. Also very cool. So, like, I think Jesus was trying to say something here, guys. I think He was on to something. It's like He knew what it's like He knew from the source itself what He was talking about. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. Well, gentlemen, I now have that recorded. Let's see. I got that 2 hours and 30 minutes in. Remember that number. I'm going to need it later. Not that whole spiel is going into the video. But that's for me for the future. I might just make a sermon out of that anyways. Because, honestly, I should sermon craft just for funsies. Like, I should make sermons just for the fun of it, as, like, a hobby. And then maybe one day I'll be able to give them. When that day is, I don't know. I probably have to be, like, 50 years old. Which is ironic, because, like, this is another thing that really annoys me. is age, because, I'm just kind of living my life believing I'm too young to do these things, because literally that's what I'm being told, and or subtextually that's what I'm being told, you know? Meanwhile, obviously in Timothy, it says age doesn't matter. You can serve God regardless. How old you are doesn't matter. I'd have to look up more of the context surrounding what it says, but regardless, I love teaching. Like, I love preaching. I may be an introvert, and I may have a hard time talking to people. I'm not going to deny that being the case. Okay? I do struggle with this. Okay? But I love public speaking. Oh, I love it. I love teaching, and I love public speaking. It's great. So, like, I'd love to give this as a message, but the problem is I'm getting the vibes that I'm too young to do so, which is unfortunate. But maybe if I create a banging enough one, I might be able to get the chance to. Because I think this is a very good server. There's a lot of good meat in there that could be used, yeah? Is that really where I put that? Do I have two of them? I do. I didn't realize I had two of those. Alright, gentlemen. There's a lot of trees here. There's a lot of dirt that needs to be done. And I think I've reached my cap. I kind of need to take a break from this. I'm going to leave all of this right here, because I am going to work on this later in my free time. We can close. ER dirt 7/30/26. This is for the Elden Ring challenge video that I've been doing for a while. We're just gonna log out in here. Alright. That's gonna do it for live. That's it for today. We can end recording. Pull up the Twitch Arena. See who's live. No one is really crazy live. Maybe I raid. We could do Surge, or we could just go straight to Link. I don't know if Link would allow me to. Let me see if Link would allow it. His thing might prevent me. It might prevent me, but we can try. Because some people have things. Okay, so my thing is working. That's very good. Let's see. Will it allow me to? Okay, no, his do not allow me to. So next person. Next person that's playing Minecraft. Would it allow me to? It will allow me to. Heck yeah. I think I'm gonna call it Wolf Pack Attack Incoming, because that's kind of funny. Doug Woe Hi. Doug Woe Heart. Doug Woe Raid. Alright, let's raid on over. And that'll be all.